Most people don't realize it, but anxiety is not what they think it is. It's not just stress. It's not just worry. And it's definitely not a chemical imbalance that appeared out of nowhere. Anxiety is a message, a desperate signal from a part of yourself that you've been ignoring for years. And the more you try to control it, suppress it, or medicate it away, the louder it screams. Carl Jung understood something that modern psychology often misses. Anxiety is not the problem. It's the alarm. And until you understand what it's trying to tell you, you'll remain trapped in an invisible prison of your own making. You wake up at 3 a.m. with your heart racing, not because of a nightmare, but because your mind has decided that now, in the darkness, is the perfect time to review every possible catastrophe you've trained yourself to live in the future, always preparing, always anticipating, always trying to predict and prevent. But here's what nobody tells you. This isn't anxiety. This is hypervigilance. It's a survival mechanism that was supposed to protect you from real danger, but somewhere along the way, it became your default state. You learned that if you could just control everything, if you could just predict every outcome, if you could just stay 10 steps ahead, maybe you'd finally feel safe. But you never do, because the control you're seeking is an illusion, and deep down, you know it. That's why the anxiety never stops. It's not trying to torture you. It's trying to show you something you refuse to see. Jung discovered that anxiety is rarely about the present moment. It's about the past trying to protect you from a future that looks like it. Most anxiety forms early, in childhood, in environments where you learned that the world was unpredictable, where love was conditional, where safety depended on being good enough, where your emotions were too much or not enough. So you developed a strategy. Control everything, predict everything, never be caught off guard. This is what Jung called a defense mechanism. And it worked. For a while. But now, it's become your prison. Because what started as protection has turned into a pattern that keeps you locked in your head, disconnected from your body, disconnected from the present moment, disconnected from yourself. And this is where the real problem lies. Anxiety is not just in your mind. It's a signal that you've abandoned yourself, that you're living a life designed to keep you safe, but not alive. Carl Jung spent his life studying the human psyche, and he discovered something that most people never confront. Your anxiety is not random. It's connected to what he called the shadow. The shadow is every part of yourself you've rejected. Every emotion you were told was inappropriate, every desire you learned to suppress, every fear you were taught to hide. These parts don't disappear. They live in your unconscious. And anxiety? It's their way of knocking on the door. Jung said, what you resist persists. The more you push away your anger, your sadness, your fear, your needs, the more they find indirect ways to surface. And one of those ways is anxiety. Chronic anxiety is often the result of living a life that isn't truly yours. A life where you've molded yourself to meet others' expectations, where you've silenced your authentic voice, where you've prioritized safety over truth. Your shadow knows this, and it's trying to get your attention. The chest tightness? That's your body saying, this doesn't feel right. The racing thoughts? That's your mind trying to process emotions you won't let yourself feel. The constant worry? That's your soul screaming, we're off course. Jung understood that you cannot heal anxiety by fighting it. You heal it by listening to it, by asking, what am I not acknowledging? What part of my life is out of alignment? What truth am I avoiding? Jung called this process individuation. It's the journey of becoming whole, not perfect, not anxiety-free, but integrated. This means accepting that you are not just the calm, controlled, functional person you present to the world. You're also messy. You're also angry. You're also scared. You're also uncertain. And all of these parts deserve to exist. Most people spend their entire lives trying to be one-dimensional, trying to be only positive, only strong, only rational. But this creates a split. The parts of you that don't fit this image get pushed into the shadow, and from there, they create anxiety. Individuation is about integration. It's about bringing those rejected parts back into conscious awareness, not to act on every impulse, but to acknowledge them, to give them space, to stop expending so much energy keeping them hidden. This is why Jung's approach to anxiety is radical. He doesn't tell you to breathe differently or think more positively. He tells you to stop abandoning yourself, to stop pretending you're something you're not, to stop living for others' approval, to stop trying to control what cannot be controlled. And when you do this, when you finally integrate your shadow, something extraordinary happens. The anxiety doesn't just decrease, it transforms. It becomes information. It becomes guidance. It becomes a compass pointing you toward your authentic self. Here's what most people get wrong about overcoming anxiety. They think the goal is to eliminate it, to finally reach a state where they never feel anxious again. But that's not freedom. That's denial. Jung understood that the goal is not to eliminate anxiety. It's to change your relationship with it. When you've integrated your shadow, when you've stopped abandoning yourself, anxiety stops being an enemy. It becomes a teacher. Every time you feel that familiar tightness in your chest, instead of spiraling into panic, you pause and you ask, what is this trying to tell me? What boundary have I crossed? What truth am I avoiding? What part of me needs attention? This is the shift from reactivity to presence, from trying to control your external world to understanding your internal one. And this changes everything. You stop trying to predict the future. You start living in the present. You stop seeking certainty. You start building trust in yourself. You stop asking, what if something goes wrong? You start asking, can I handle what comes? And the answer, when you've done this inner work, is always yes. Because you're no longer fragmented. You're no longer at war with yourself. You're whole. Jung spent his life teaching this. True psychological freedom doesn't come from controlling your circumstances. It comes from accepting yourself completely, all of you, even the parts you've been taught to hate. But I need to be honest with you. This path is not easy. When you start to confront your shadow, when you stop running from your anxiety, when you begin to live authentically, things get uncomfortable. The people in your life who benefited from your people-pleasing will resist. The relationships built on your anxiety will fall apart. The version of yourself you've been pretending to be will die. And that's exactly the point. Jung said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. You cannot become whole while still holding on to the parts of your life that require you to be fractured. You cannot heal your anxiety while still living in the situations that created it. This is the part nobody wants to hear. But it's the truth. Real transformation requires letting go of toxic relationships, of jobs that drain your soul, of identities that were never yours. And yes, it's terrifying, but it's also the only way forward. So, how do you actually do this? How do you move from chronic anxiety to psychological integration? Jung would say, start with awareness. Every time you feel anxious, stop. Don't try to fix it. Don't try to rationalize it away. Don't distract yourself. Just observe. Where do I feel this in my body? What thoughts are accompanying this feeling? What was I doing or thinking about right before this started? Then ask the deeper question. What part of my life is out of alignment? Maybe it's a relationship where you can't be yourself. Maybe it's a job that violates your values. Maybe it's a lifestyle that doesn't honor your needs. Your anxiety knows. Your body knows. You just have to be brave enough to listen. Next, begin the work of integration. This means journaling about the emotions you've been avoiding, setting boundaries you've been too afraid to set, making choices based on your truth, not others' approval, allowing yourself to feel anger, sadness, fear without judgment. This is shadow work, and it's the foundation of everything. Jung understood that anxiety is not your enemy, it's your ally. It's the part of you that refuses to let you live a half-life, the part that won't let you abandon yourself completely. And when you finally listen to it, when you stop fighting it and start honoring what it's trying to tell you, everything changes. Not because the anxiety disappears, but because you're no longer afraid of it. You're no longer controlled by it. You've integrated it into the wholeness of who you are. And from that place of integration, you don't just survive, you become truly alive. One day, you look back at your anxiety and realize it was the greatest teacher you ever had, because it forced you to confront yourself, to know yourself, to become yourself. And that is what Jung called individuation, the journey home to who you really are. So now, I want to hear from you. What is your anxiety trying to tell you? What part of your life do you know deep down is out of alignment? Write it in the comments, not to vent, but to begin the process of making it conscious, because, as Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Don't let that be your story. If this message confronted you, moved you, or helped you see yourself differently, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. The journey of individuation continues in the next video. Watch it now.